Hello, listeners. I'm Timstradamus. Hopefully you're having a good start to your week. Joining me as always is my talented and beautiful co-hostess, Voyse.
Good morning, Timstradamus, and welcome to all of our listeners. I have a fun joke for you. What has more lives than a cat?
Well, cats have 9, so I think I actually might have the answer on this one.
Ooh.
The Earth, because it has a lot of lives on it.
Ah, that's pretty clever. But it's actually a frog.
What?
Because it croaks every day.
No. My answer's right.
I do like yours better.
I felt like I finally got it, and I lost to the frogs. For new listeners, Voyse and I enjoy reading and talking about stories from the internet that are interesting, funny, and dramatic. Because of our love of stories, we've come together and created this channel to share with you those experiences.
And hopefully give you some food for thought.
So Voyse,
Damus.
it looks like we have a new shout out to make.
We do. We have another Brewmaster Daddy. Welcome to the Tea Club, Kiki.
Sup, Daddy. This is so weird.
It's so funny.
Cringe. Love and appreciate you.
Sup, Daddy. Well, why don't you go ahead and pick up that morning cup of brew and give it a nice little whiff. Let me know what you think.
Blueberries.
Oh, nice one. It actually does have blueberries and apples and hibiscus and rosehip and pomegranate bits.
And me as a new favorite customer.
Yeah. What would you rate it?
5 out of 5.
Yes.
Easily. This was fantastic.
Well, while you go ahead and enjoy your morning cup of brew, why don't we go ahead and delve into these stories? For any listeners wanting to follow along, all story links are in the description below. For our first story, am I the a-hole for refusing to allow cousin-in-law and his family to move in when they're about to be homeless? My husband's cousin, Chris, and his wife, Rachel, have 3 kids, 13, 5, and 3, and we've hung out twice since our daughter, 7.5, was born. We're not close. Rachel's always been rude to me. Before my husband met me, Rachel had a thing for him and tried to date him. He never reciprocated. And then when we became official, Rachel started dating Chris. Chris called asking if they can move in with us as they're homeless. Chris and Rachel missed rent payments and got evicted and have been couch surfing with their 3 kids for the past month or so. My husband said he would need to talk to me first. My immediate response was no. Husband agreed, although he felt bad. Chris's family had been giving them money to make their rent payments, and instead of paying rent, they used the money for other things. Chris works odd construction jobs and doesn't make much. Rachel claims she can't work because of ADHD. Chris called back. Husband apologized and said we don't have the space. Chris tried to say we have 5 bedrooms. My husband clarifies that we don't. We have 4, one of which is my office. Chris says he's disappointed and he would have helped us. My husband says I work from home and need the house to be quiet. Chris says he doesn't understand where we got the impression that their kids can't be quiet and he's offended. Rachel says we have the money and a big house to help, but that we would rather see 3 kids end up on the streets because I'm greedy. I snap and tell her that her kids are not my responsibility and I'm not comfortable sharing my home with strangers. It's not our problem that they mismanaged their finances and that maybe she shouldn't have gotten her nails done every week and paid their rent instead. She responded that I don't understand how hard they have it because I'm privileged and providing for 3 kids isn't cheap. So I said maybe she should get a job and stop using ADHD as an excuse, and they should have thought of that before having kids, and hung up. Husband's phone starts blowing up with calls from family members. He picks up Chris's dad's Paul call. Paul wants to know why we're unwilling to help. I ask him why he and his wife haven't opened their home, as this is his son and grandkids after all. He says Chris/Rachel and the kids stayed for a week, but their house is too small and it didn't work out. I told him that we aren't close to Chris/Rachel and have no obligation to them, and I suggested he and his wife reopen their home to their son and grandkids. He says they did open their home and now it's our turn. I laughed and hung up. So now my husband's family thinks that we're cruel and heartless. We also haven't disclosed that I'm pregnant, which is also a big reason. They're anti-vax and I don't want to be exposed, and I'll be going on maternity leave for a year as of January, so we're trying to save up. So am I the a-hole? Just to add, the OP clarified some information inside of the comment section that I think might be a good idea to let you in on. So first, Chris is 33 and Rachel is 30. Additionally, weirdly enough, and this is probably some extra drama, but OP did say that about a few years ago, they weren't even invited to Chris and Rachel's wedding. OP just wanted to let Redditors know that's how not close they were. And then additionally, the day that they got married on is actually OP's and her husband's wedding anniversary. And they do live up in Canada, and they do receive monthly benefits for all the kids, somewhere along the lines of $1,000 a month.
Per child or for the whole shebang?
For the whole shebang.
Okay. Mismanagement of money seems to be the issue with this whole story. Outside of the appalling amount of audacity that the cousins are displaying here.
Entitlement.
It's bad.
You need to help me?
How dare you believe someone owes you anything after you ask them a question? I'll say it like I always do. You're allowed to ask people questions. It's good to ask. But if they tell you no, you have to respect that. Guilting people, because that's what happens here. The second they hear no, they go on the offensive. Well, you have this big home. You have that amount of money. You should be willing to help us. I think the fun part for me is, I guess the entire family calls back after they've given the cousin the answer. And the one person he answers is the uncle. And he puts it in his face. How come you're not letting your cousin stay at your house? And he gives him the same question back in return. And that's fantastic. Like, well, why haven't you done it? And then he reveals through that question that, in fact, he had already let his son stay over. And it lasted a mere week.
I would like to add information on that too. Apparently, this uncle has other kids, I believe 2 other kids, and those families also live in the same house.
Oh, wow. Outside of the fact that they told you no, we're dealing with people who have a reputation. One of them is getting their nails done periodically. When your income is not very high, you choosing to do things like that on a regular basis is, in my opinion, selfish. And I understand if I guess it's the wife in this situation has ADHD to the point where she can't hold down a job. That's not for me to assess and determine whether or not that's true or if it's warranted. All I can really say about that is if that is your situation, you shouldn't be spending money willy-nilly on things that don't help your kids. And then on the other foot, I think it's the husband that has an odd job, construction job. You know, I don't know how frequent or what he's making. But again, you're missing payments doing what? You had the family helping out. That's your fault for mismanaging that money. The only one I feel bad for, though, are the children. They paid for this. If it's that important to you to make sure your kids aren't homeless, make the right decisions. Learn from the mistakes you've made. But ROP doesn't owe them a place to stay. And on top of all of this, ROP is now pregnant.
And then to add to that from the comment section, OP said that they've been trying to have kids. And aside from them having the one, she's encountered miscarriages.
Okay.
So she's considered a more high-risk pregnancy because of the history.
Reduce the stress. There's only so much you can do, but when you're adding that on, especially the way they're going about it, by demanding that they're owed this space in your home, I don't want to be around that, and I'm certain most people don't. So I do feel bad for the children. I hope that they are still able to get on their feet. It is a tough time for a lot of folks. But OP, in this story, I do not believe that you are the a-hole. Stick to your values and your decision. Don't let family push your boundaries.
The consensus on Reddit is our OP is not the a-hole. Redditors came forward saying, don't feel pressured into allowing anyone in your home, especially if the relationship isn't good. And adding to that, it was amazing to hear that our OP and her husband wasn't even invited to the wedding of the family in question. And it had Redditors so shocked that anyone would expect OP to actually financially support people who don't even consider them close enough for an invite to a wedding. And that's not even adding that they married on the same date as OP. I think overall, it's just on its own, it's really sus on how they carry themselves.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing that I can say, and I believe based on how OP was talking in the comment section, the only reason they were here was because of those children. And they feel like an a-hole because for them, they're making a tough situation of 3 kids. It's hard because you might want to help family and you would love to help those kids, but it comes with those strings attached of toxic people. And you have to kind of find the best route for your family, and especially mental and physical health. Our OP is in a very precarious situation, being pregnant, and on top of that, having previous miscarriages. To be riddled with guilt like this is unfair. If the family was unable to help Rachel and Chris, it's only Rachel's and Chris's fault. I can't even begin to understand frivolous spending when you know that you have 3 children that you have to watch over.
I'm just more upset about the fact that we're able to push past the fact that we don't have a lot of money, and then we're spending beyond our means, and now we're throwing our responsibility onto other family members. So hopefully they get their act together. OP, I know that guilt's probably very high because you are correct. There are 3 kids involved, and that's very hard. But you're also going through a pregnancy. That's high risk, and you guys are trying to get another kid, and she's working from home. Again, I can just hope that the kids get taken care of.
I hope so as well. Now let's go on to our next story and see what you think about a reneged agreement. Am I the a-hole for disinviting a friend from an event after she gave my ticket to her sister? Back when AITAH's tour tickets were released, my friend Sadie said she would grab us tickets and I'd pay her back. We made concrete plans and I was excited. I've been a Swiftie for years, but haven't seen her live. I had to sell my Rep Stadium tour tickets back in the 2010s because my mom was dying and I needed the money to help pay medical bills. I booked the hotel. This past weekend, I was having a little get-together for a bunch of friends, and Sadie was, of course, invited. At some point, she pulled me aside and told me that she had news. She is leaving in September. I was heartbroken. We've been friends for years, and I love spending time with her. I got weepy and hugged her a bunch and said we needed to get all our thrifting trips in over the summer and hang out as much as we could. Then she broke the news that as a way to bond with her sister before she left, she was going to be taking her to the AITAH's tour instead. I didn't know how to react. She stood in front of me and Venmo'd my payment back. She was like, "I know you understand." I said that this was a sneaky move and honestly really shitty of her, and I don't understand how or why she would do that to me. She got defensive and said that they were under her name and that she didn't owe me anything. I was like, yes, they are your tickets. Legally, you can do whatever you want. But this is still a really shitty and sneaky thing to do to your friend, knowing that there is no way I will be able to get my own tickets at this point. She just kind of shrugged and said, "Sorry, but I figured you'd understand." I asked her to leave, and I told her to please not come back for the 4th of July party next week. I said I needed to process this and that I'm really disappointed with her and how she's treated me. This is a girl who I consoled through breakups, job losses, pet losses, etc. She looked shocked and asked if I was serious. She ended up stomping off and leaving and texted me later to tell me that she's around if I want to apologize for making her feel bad about taking her sister on a bonding trip. I'm honestly heartbroken that I'm going to be watching my show on a grainy live stream instead of being there in the stadium with everyone. I was looking forward to this so much. I checked the resale sites and had a sad little cry about it. I am wondering if I am completely wrong to have just uninvited her. Is that too far? If it was in, say, a month or 2, I don't think I would have. I just need time. Am I the a-hole?
No, that's terrible what your friend did, regardless of whatever show you wanted to go to, whether it be something as big as the Swiftie, Taylor Swift stuff, or if it was someone very small. The fact that a ticket was bought with the intention of you both going to this thing, because there was another thing she left out here. She said she reserved the hotel.
Correct.
That's money she spent. I'm hoping that she also got reimbursed for half of that hotel room. I'm not certain. She doesn't say those things, but was it in their country? Did they have to already buy plane tickets? You know, there's a lot of details here that it wasn't just a ticket. Not anymore. That's a full-on event. So I think anyone would be hurt being told Because how many days before was this announced to her? It was within a month, right?
I believe so. Enough time to where she cannot get her own tickets.
I bet those tickets were an insane amount of money the first time around when they first got released, and then the resale was probably heinous.
Oh, hands down, yes. From how I was understanding it is you have to essentially camp in front of your computer and hound the website just to try and get them into your cart.
That was a big deal for her. And I'm certain it is a big deal for anyone, for any event they want to go to. So to have your friend at a get-together spring the news on you that I'm only doing this because I knew you would understand and that I want to bond with my sister. You can go and bond with your sister doing anything else. Maybe a plan that you didn't already make with your friend, however long ago this was that you guys purchased those tickets. That's completely unfair. I do understand, though, that at least the OP sees it rationally, that unfortunately those tickets were put in that person's name. I gotta believe there's no legal action for that.
Especially since Sadie returned the money and right in front of her. So
I don't know how much legal action you have. I can feel sorry for you, though, as far as that aspect is concerned. I'm wondering, what exactly are they asking here?
If they're the a-hole for essentially uninviting their friend after this happened to them.
No. And I'm not even looking at it as a petty reaction to this whole situation, because I try to steer clear of reactional, emotional-based petty stuff. I don't think that benefits you at all. I think in this situation, when you've been betrayed, should you allow someone in your life that's done that to you?
No.
You said you needed time away to think about things. I think what you did was healthy. Your friend sucks. I hope that going forward, and this is the worst part, she says that this friend has been around through thick and thin, that this is the person they leaned on for
and the other way, leaned on in reverse.
Big life events for them. I can't even sit here and tell you, make sure you pick your friends wisely in the future, because this sounded like a good friend. You can't sit there and go, well, next time, this one was on you. Normally, there's red flags that we look past, and then you learn from those mistakes about the people you do invite into your life. But here, where can you say that's what you need to be looking out for? Because this all of a sudden just happened to her. But I know you'd understand.
I hate that. The fact that you would, or anybody would say that I thought you would react a certain way, and therefore you have to act that way because that's my expectation of you, is very gross.
OP, you are not the a-hole. I hope in the future you're able to find good friends.
The consensus on Reddit is our OP's not the a-hole. In fact, so many Redditors came forward saying, do not apologize, that this was bad etiquette for OP's friend. And it shows that they aren't actual friends, that many friend groups do get ticket groupings with the understanding that those tickets are for those specific people, especially when those tickets have already been paid for. The fact that Sadie decided to go ahead and renege on their agreement because this is what works out better for her just shows her character as a person, which is not a very good one. OP even answered actually many of the commenters, but a lot of the times they were saying the whole reason why the whole thing hurt was it wasn't the fact that Sadie wanted to have this bonding trip with her sister, but it was with the understanding that these tickets were only available really for a certain amount of time before prices would spike. And had this been something that was the intention of Sadie to begin with, our OP would have made other arrangements so that she would be able to experience this. Now, there were Redditors that said, look, OP, cancel your hotel booking and seriously make that friend pay for whatever financial loss you incurred, because that's not fair for you to take that on. Let me go ahead and read an edit from our OP regarding that. Our OP said, "Hi everyone, and thank you for the responses so far. I just wanted to follow this up by saying that I appreciate the sentiment, but I'm not going to sue her over this. I don't really think that is a normal reaction or something that I would enjoy doing. Please don't hate me." So it sounds like our OP is just going to cut her losses here and possibly a friendship end.
She sounds very rational.
It's a rough situation that our OP's in, but at least now they know what kind of person their friend is or is turning into if it was something that they never experienced before. Just because Sadie acted nice to our OP doesn't mean that she was fair to anybody else. Well, let's go on to our next story and see what you think about when someone ghosts another person. Am I the a-hole for ghosting my girlfriend after she nearly killed both of us? So, my girlfriend, 20 female, and I, 22 male, have been together for a little over 10 months now. We haven't had any heated arguments or fights, except for the fact that she keeps tickling me randomly, despite the fact that I've repeatedly told her to never do it again because I can act strangely to it, something from my childhood which I don't delve into. Now, to get to the current situation, this week I've had my car returned from a paint job and some major look changes, and I was really satisfied with the results. So I took a day off from work and took my girlfriend on a short trip outside the city. We drove to a lake, ate some food, and relaxed for a couple of hours until it got pretty dark, and we decided to head back home to get some sleep as I had to go to work the next day and she had an exam. On the way home, I started talking about how happy I felt with how the paint job turned out, and out of nowhere she starts tickling me. I pushed her hand away and told her to stop. Then she reached for my ribs with both hands and got me swerving off the road. Thankfully, nobody was hurt, although my car got some deep scratches, but that doesn't even matter anymore, as I already slowed down after her first attempt to tickle me. I'll admit that I told her, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" as soon as we stepped out of the car and she started crying, but I couldn't care less as I felt as if my veins were about to pop. When we got home, I told her to pack her things and go to her best friend, but she threw a tantrum and begged me to forgive her for a little mistake. I didn't say a word. I simply stared in disgust and pointed to her luggage. After a friend picked her up, I tried to go to sleep, but my mind was racing, so I barely got any rest. This happened on Tuesday, and she's been blowing up my phone ever since, but I haven't answered any calls or texts and just blocked her. This led to her friend coming to my house and telling me to at least hear my girlfriend out. But I've told her to fuck off and leave me alone, which made her tell me that I'm more in love with a car than with my girlfriend. So, am I the a-hole in this situation? Should I talk to my girlfriend? I already feel like I can't trust her after what happened and that our relationship can't be fixed.
Tis peak. I'm going to have to side with ROP here completely in this story. And I want to make sure I'm understanding it correctly. This tickling event, okay, which, by the way, I think he definitely needs to go seek some help for because he alludes to something at the beginning, but he does not want to go into exactly why. Please go seek some help for that. That's important. And the fact that you understand that is a good start. But back to the story. He says that this tickling event happens and has happened frequently. And he's had to tell her several times now throughout their 10 months of being together that this is not something that he's accepting. And every single time the girlfriend has pushed past this boundary. How's that okay?
It is not.
And then to do it while someone is driving, when you know this person does not like this, that this is a trigger or a catalyst to behavior, because he says he acts funny during it. To know that about your partner, but to do it to him while he's driving, and then to escalate it, because at first it was a little tickle and then it was the ribs.
So much so that they swerved and now they have not wrecked their car, but enough damage on their car.
Even if there was zero damage to that car, mentally you have severely damaged the trust in that relationship. There's certain things you don't do, especially when someone's driving. I think you have to have that basic respect for not just you guys in that car, but for everyone else sharing the road with you. I'm so happy that he slowed down the first attempt, because had he been going at whatever speed he was going when she reached for the ribs and he swerved, maybe we're not even hearing this story.
That would be tragic.
Is he in the wrong for the reaction he had?
I don't believe so. It's the safety of everyone.
Look, it sounds like your girlfriend doesn't care about boundaries. And it also sounds like her friend, her best friend, also does not understand or recognize what boundaries are either. In a perfect world, could you hear her out? Sure. Do you owe her those things? Absolutely not. Because I don't think that she would have anything constructive to add to this. Especially when her friend is telling you that you love your car more than you love your girlfriend.
I think our OP loves living.
And boundaries and respect in a relationship. If you thought that that was just about the car, you need to step away from being in a relationship for a while. Grow up a little bit. That's just how I feel. OP, you're not the a-hole, and I hope everyone else gave you, and I'm pretty certain that they gave him good advice.
The consensus on Reddit is our OP's not the a-hole. Redditors came forward saying that not only were boundaries crossed, but so was the safety of everyone in the situation. I can't tell you how many people came forward saying that they were taught and have taught their kids, 11, 9, 6-year-olds, do not distract the driver when they are driving the car. In fact, I find it very funny because there are more parents out there who came forward, especially single parents that came forward saying, I drove old cars. I made sure that my kids didn't even make funny noises to make sure that we can go ahead and pay attention, because old cars would make funny noises. And if something was happening, you'd have to pull over. Additional Redditors came forward as saying, you know how you have those fun light up shoes for kids? Those are banned from the car, because one time I thought a cop was pulling us over and it was just the shoes. It's quite funny how easily a driver gets distracted by things that isn't even touching their actual person. But in this situation, you have someone who is literally disrupting you safely driving. It's astounding how OP's girlfriend couldn't understand that she had put their lives and the lives of other people on the road in jeopardy because they wanted to have a laugh. I have an update though.
Oh.
So let's see if we can laugh at this one. Nah. On to the update.
I thought you meant Naz and you didn't have an update.
No. I meant the laughing. So the past couple of hours have been insane, honestly. Before the actual update, I just wanted to sort some things out. One, I've seen people talking about this post being rage bait or fake. Honestly, I wish it was, but I actually needed to hear some opinions on what happened. Two, some people talked about me having anger issues. This is not true at all. I never snapped at her like this for tickling me, let alone hitting her or anything like that. But in the rage of the moment, I couldn't keep my mouth shut. I might consider myself to be a calm person, but that doesn't mean I will laugh and giggle through stupid stuff. 3. The actual crash happened at a speed that could have killed us if I swerved in the wrong direction. I was driving on a country road and could have frontally hit a car coming from the other direction. At the speed at which the crash happened was around 40 miles per hour or 65 kilometers per hour. 4. The tickling part in childhood drama. I've mentioned that to my now ex-girlfriend around 3 months into our relationship, but as many pointed the obvious, I wasn't dating the sharpest tool in the shed, and it took me a while to realize it, so I guess I might be a bit dumb as well, lol. 5. I think I might have misused the term ghosting. In my head, telling her to get out of my house was already a clear sign of our relationship status. Now to the actual update. After reading nearly all of the comments, I took the decision to send my ex a message where I told her we should meet face to face. Some people suggested that I should file for a lawsuit, but my ex is still in uni and her parents can barely afford helping her. She obviously has done an insanely dumb stunt, but I don't want to punish her parents for it. The car is in the process of getting fixed, and I can afford it without major financial issues. Still, I took screenshots of her messages in order for me to have some proof in case the situation escalates. So we met earlier at a coffee shop. She looked as if she's been crying for a long time, but it didn't change my mind at all. What shocked me was the fact that she leaned in for a kiss when she saw me as if nothing happened. I stopped her and told her that we need to have a serious conversation. I explained that what happened wasn't because of the car itself, but because of her disrespecting my boundaries and not thinking for a second about what might happen if she did that thing. Besides that, I also felt disrespected by the fact that her best friend came knocking at my door to demand things, despite not having any rights to do so, which led me to ask my ex if she told her best friend the truth or if she lied about the situation. She said that she only told her friend that we had a small car crash, and I'm pissed at her. Hearing that made me feel disappointed as hell, but I did my best to remain calm. I told her to tell the real story to her friends and family, and she raised her voice and told me that I'm accusing her of being a liar, something that led to a 15-minute discussion about how the crash was solely her fault and how she put our lives at risk. I asked her if everything's clear to her about our situation, and her response was, "Yep, 100%. Can we go home now?" That honestly shocked me. I told her that there's no way we can be back together, and I suggested she should be more careful and considerate with her future partner. Her reaction was all tears, shaking, begging me to reconsider my decision, but I just can't look at her the same. I explained again that for me, it wasn't a small mistake she made. It was a full-on stupid decision that shouldn't be done by an adult, as it could have resulted in something deadly. She just thinks I'm exaggerating, and that this back and forth argument led to her asking if there's someone else in my life, and I'm just using the accident as an excuse. I denied and told her that she's too selfish to even realize that she broke my trust and disrespects me by saying this crap. I left the coffee shop feeling like I've been talking to a wall, but at least I can say that I didn't try to have a conversation. An hour ago, her mom texted me asking what happened, and I told her everything. I said that I don't want any money from them, but the only thing I'm asking is for my ex to keep her distance from me. She apologized for what her daughter did and wished me all the best. As for her friend, from my understanding, she just came to my house without talking with my ex on whether she should do it or not. So I guess she just tried to be the main character in this whole story. Right now, I'm preparing for work, but my chest isn't heavy anymore. In case anything will happen in the future, I'll keep everyone updated, but I hope it won't be the case, LOL. Thank you for helping me navigate this weird situation, and thanks for all the kind messages. Hope everyone stays safe. Edit. Sorry if this wasn't the drama-filled update some people might have expected, but I came here with the desire to get some perspective on my situation and be as transparent as possible. I never intended to post this story for votes or anything like that.
Well, it sounds like he did get the perspective he needed, and he's heading in the right direction. You can't have people in your life that don't respect you and understand what boundaries look like in a relationship.
And don't value the safety of people around them.
And like to tell lies in order to garner sympathy from people. I'm so shocked that at the end of this conversation, she goes, "Yeah, can we go home now?"
And he's like, "No."
That couldn't be further from what this whole conversation was going to be. But all you saw was, we're getting together and I'm going back home now. Entitlement.
Or not being held accountable for their own actions. That's pretty crazy. As a person, you need to do that for yourself first.
Yes.
Well, let's go on to our next story and see what you think about how to punish a child. Am I the a-hole for not siding with my wife and agreeing with my mother after she did a group punishment that made my middle child unliked by the other kids? My mother babysits almost all of the grandkids 3 times a week in the summer. I am very grateful she does this, and it saves us a ton of money. In total, she watches about 7 kids, and one of those kids is my middle son, Jamie. Jamie is a lot sometimes. He is 8 years old, and compared to his younger sister, he is less behaved. My mother has talked to my wife and I multiple times about him. She has done recommended timeouts. Overall, he doesn't behave much better after them. We have both talked to him about it, but no improvement. This is the issue. My mom was going to take all of the kids to the pool with my dad. Jamie would not stop goofing around, running around, grabbing the other kids' pool stuff, and in general, being loud and annoying. My mom told him if he didn't stop, then no one would be going to the pool. He didn't stop, and she held true to her word. The rest of the day, all the kids were mad at him. I picked them both up and she informed me above what happened. Mom told me he behaved the rest of the day after that. Jamie was very upset about no one liking him. The kids basically ignored him. Even my youngest was pissed off at him. My mother told me that he needs to learn his actions affect other people, and I agree with her. I am 100% fine with her social dynamics to get him to behave. It also seemed to work. She plans to take the kids to the pool on Friday. I told my wife what happened and she is pissed that my mother did this. We had an argument and she thinks I am being a huge jerk for agreeing with my mom. Am I the a-hole?
All right. Well, I'm going to have to full-heartedly agree with our OP and the way his mother handled it, the grandmother in this situation. It sounds like a lot of time and effort has gone into helping 8-year-old Jamie as far as his attitude and how he conducts himself. But those forms of teaching and punishment haven't reinforced anything good. You know, they said they had the timeouts, they had
The
talking.
talkings.
Those things haven't really worked well. But for Jamie, what he saw through those interactions was he was just getting attention. Good or bad, kids don't measure attention like that. They're just getting attention for the most part.
He probably saw that he was getting the laughs from all the other kids his age. And while he might have been on the bad front when it came to the adults, for him, it was all about what kids his age were thinking.
Now, the grandmother, instead of trying the same things over and over again, getting the same results, switched it up and had his actions affect the other kids. I think that is a perfectly good way of teaching kids that the actions they do take have consequences for not just themselves, but others around them. When you can teach a child that, it's priceless. And grandma knew what to do. And he felt that. Jamie understood through his family, peers, that what he had done was wrong. And that got through to him. I don't understand why the mother in this situation is having a hard time with understanding that that's a good way to teach a kid. Because there's a million ways to teach values and perspectives to a child. Because not one way will work for all of them. If you've ever been a parent, you understand that. What works for this child will not work for that one. Or may not work for them. They found what works. Good for the grandma. OP, I'm not certain how you can explain it any further or how it was explained to your wife, but I would like to know exactly how she worded or why she was so upset about this punishment. Was it the fact that Jamie got punished at all? Or was it because the other kids got to miss out on it? Because I'm also from a household. I'm the eldest of 6. The way it was taught to us was all for one, one for all. Now that type of punishment and teaching might not work for every scenario, but it does teach kids to be more self-aware of their actions and how they do impact other people. But that's my biggest ask here is, what exactly is she upset about?
So based on how OP was talking in the comments section, it was that OP's wife believes the timeout is the better route. And that's it.
Okay, but you've done that. You've seen that it has zero impact. Why would that be the better route? Because we like to constantly hit our head up against the wall and
because if it's worked for one child, maybe it'll work for this one if you try hard enough.
Like we just said, that's not how it works, especially when you're talking about people. Everyone is different. You learn in different ways. OP, you are not the a-hole in my opinion. It's good to try different tactics when it comes to teaching. If one thing doesn't work, go on to the next one.
The consensus on Reddit is that our OP's not the a-hole. Redditors were saying that every child needs to learn lessons differently. If this way is helping the kid actually behave, then the grandmother is doing something right. But coddling a child through bad behavior won't help him in the long run. Now, there are some people who timeout worked for them. And there are some people who other things like social dynamics helped them learn how to behave. Everybody's very, very different in how they learn. I think one of the lucky things that I got to experience with my father is that he never let me know how I was going to learn my lesson. And regardless, everything in life was always a lesson to be learned, whether I did something right or wrong. And the fact that I got to choose whether it was negative type of attention or a positive type of attention was always something that he made me understand I, as a child, could decide. Well, let's go to our last story of the day and end us off on something that might tickle our fancy. Today, I fucked up by telling my significant other she's not a 10. Obligatory, this happened 15 plus years ago. I was young, stupid, in love, young, and most importantly, stupid. During a conversation with the guys at work, we talked about how nobody in the world is a 10 out of 10. Nobody is perfect. Personality, looks, wonky looking fingers. There's always a reason that somebody is more than a 1 and less than a 10. My now wife, then girlfriend, and I went on a weekend trip to Philadelphia. During the trip, we're walking through the city and making small talk. Somehow, the concept of rating came up. It was probably my dumb mouth that spoke it into existence. She, of course, asks, well, what would you rank me? Let me start here. As the phrase goes, I outkicked my coverage. I look like a bridge troll. My wife is gorgeous. She's the most beautiful woman I ever saw. She's funny. She's caring. She's outright amazing. The first time I saw her, I literally couldn't breathe. I know many of you think that about your significant other, and that's awesome. And that's how I see mine. Even more amazing, she likes me. Me! She was willing to talk to me and do freaky things in the boudoir. Like, I should just shut up, smile, buy her flowers, and try not to fuck up. However, I fucked up. You're a 9, idiot R. Spackle says. I'm not a 10, significant other says. Now, let me pause here. Anyone reading this thinking she thinks she's a 10 out of 10, she has unrealistic standards, you're missing the point. A young woman who's giving her heart and soul needs to feel confident and comfortable. Case in point, when your significant other asks, do I look fat in this dress? You pause briefly, act like you're inspecting and say, no, you look great. When she then says, you paused, why? You answer, last time you wore that insert color here dress that also looked great. I was trying to remember how that one looked. She doesn't want to know if she looks fat. She wants to know if she looks okay. And more importantly, she needs to feel okay. So give her comfort. Tell her she's beautiful because to you, she's beautiful. And that's all that matters. So back to the early 2000s, I inserted my foot in my mouth repeatedly by defending my position of nobody is a 10, but you're a 9, which is just as good as a 10. Know what saying 10 gets you? Love, happiness, hugs, affection, peace, comfort. Know what saying 9 gets you? Not laid. It took the rest of the day for tensions to cool, but the day was ruined. Ordered crappy takeout pizza. She fell asleep early. We went for breakfast the following morning and made a decent day out of it. But I learned the first of several lessons of, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? The too long don't read. Told my significant other she's a 9 because nobody could be a 10. She disagreed.
10 just means you find your partner the most beautiful thing in the world.
They complete you.
It's not just looks. It's everything. You're correct. It's a completion of a circle. I feel that way about you. You're a 10. 100%. I am the cave troll in this scenario.
No, you're not. You're my 10.
And that's what should matter to every partner in a relationship. If you don't feel that wildly about your partner, because the 10 doesn't mean a perfect face structure or teeth or however you want to define what a 10 means. A 10 should only mean that they are perfect for you. Those imperfections make you perfect. We hear it in songs and in poetry all over the place. Everyone says these same lame, couple sentences, but it's truth. But it does sound like he was able to learn. Do I agree with her destroying an entire day because he called her a 9 out of 10? I think you are correct. It was about romance. Yeah, everyone wants to feel
they're being treated like the special person that they feel like they should be in a relationship. And it's hard. A lot of people walk that fine line, right? You want to be special, but you don't want to force your way into special. You want it to come from a genuine place. And when you realize that it's not coming to you and you feel disappointed, does that make you selfish? Not necessarily. I think everybody wants to feel special in their relationship with another person.
Sure.
It's just feelings.
We all want that. Yeah, it's a cute story. You see the maturation from a young guy in a relationship to now he's married and understands how I can't get behind the whole, do I want to be right or do I want to be happy? You are allowed to have your opinions and you shouldn't have to feel like you have to cater to someone just to be happy in a relationship. I can't get behind that one. That one bugs me because I hear that far too often with people.
I also agree with that. That sentence was very jarring. I think understanding what your partner would like from you is important, but it should never be at the expense of someone else.
You and I can have open conversations about I don't think there is any subject that we haven't crossed. Now, maybe it might be a heated topic, right? But we're allowed to have our conversations and our emotions, and we don't yell at each other, but we're allowed to hear each other out.
I do actually like our heated conversations just because it provides me with a different perspective.
Both of us. I can't tell you how many times I've had to go, oh, okay. Well, I have not, because my experiences through life aren't the same as yours. So it's fun to have those type of aha moments. So we have them back and forth. But if I have to answer every question with the one that I think is going to make you happy versus the one that's true to me,
then you would stop being Timstradamus to me. You would just be me. And that's not who I fall in love with.
So I can't get behind people saying those things about their relationship. I love the whole fun and poke of it, but there's a lot there that I go, all right, well, that can only get you so far. If you're not willing to be honest, and if you can't be honest with someone in your relationship, then that's something you have to work on. I find the cute. I know I'm probably destroying the cute from the story and the romance of it.
No, there were also points by Redditors. I feel like this was a back and forth on feelings. I found this to be a very cute read. And mind you, they were dating. So for them, it was something as simple as, hey, if something was said to my partner and it turned him off, I wasn't going to get any fun times, whether it's just cuddling or getting laid or whatever it is. Everybody has their own relationships. In the end, it was understanding what your partner's looking for. And there are a lot of individuals out there who want to be right all the time. That's not the best way to go in life.
Nope.
Trying to be right in everything, I feel like stops you from learning that there are different perspectives and different ways to solve the same problem. At the same time, you shouldn't risk who you are. And if there are instances where you are right on certain points, it shouldn't be that you're risking happiness for it.
Yeah.
There are moments where people are right and there are moments where people are wrong. Regardless, as long as everybody is understanding where the other side is coming from and treating it with respect, that's the best we can ask for.
You're 9, but you're as good as a 10.
Or you can maybe do something just as sweet, right? You're a 9. That's because I'm your +1. And together we make a 10.
Let's go on a date.
Let's ride.
Well, was that our last story?
That was our last story.
It's a cute one. There's still lessons to be learned in there.
Always.
But I can always get behind someone understanding that in those moments, it's better to just be happy.
I agree. The same way as I was happy making that Titanic model with our son.
Yes, I forgot to point that out. That's what they built a week ago.
Yeah.
It's really the only time we have to build anything with our son because life is very busy. Now that he's older, it's constantly with either band or school or job, or it doesn't matter. There's not a whole lot of time to do the fun things we used to, so we're trying to cram it in.
Everything that we can when we can.
Yes. And they just built that. It was really cool. It took you guys 4 hours to put that whole thing together.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
Mother-son duo.
Maybe one day we get you on the Lego show and you two build up a storm there.
Oh my goodness.
That's one of our favorite watches, by the way. I'm not sure if anyone knows about that. It might be a little niche. Yeah, Lego Master. There it is. But our son and Voyse are fantastic builders. Maybe one day.
Maybe. And who knows? We'll have another little one. Also going to be a master builder.
Another piece to the puzzle. Well, as our stories come to a close, don't forget, you see in the world what you carry in your heart.
If you have enjoyed listening to us read and talk about today's stories, please rate, subscribe, and turn on notifications for new content. We regularly post on Mondays and Wednesdays. And on Fridays, we have our Damas After Dark episodes on our Patreon.
Spooky.
Ooh.
Not really.
Not
it's
really.
just more of the same, I think.
Kinda. I try and find really entertaining ones, really off-the-wall ones.
I think last week's was interesting.
Yeah. We would also love to thank all of our Patreons for all of your support.
Yes, we love and appreciate every single all of you.
Every single
Because he said all. So
I was like, wait, what?
I wanted to be a part of it.
I could see it.
As always, listeners, we look forward to hearing your opinions in the comments below. What did you think about the stories today?
And do you guys make Legos? What's your favorite Lego build?
Well, I don't really like putting Legos together because my fingies are a little bigger and I hate how small they feel and they kind of hurt when I
After a little
put
bit.
too many together. It's just not my thing, but I absolutely have loved and cherished every moment watching you and our son put them together throughout the years. That's what I get out of it. I think just watching all of the fun that's been had through each one of them has their own separate memories and they're all my favorite. I'll give the in the middle answer.
I love them all equally.
Yes. And remember, if you post it, maybe we'll see it on the internet.
I want to build more stuff now.
Lego.
My ego.